What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be looking at what I feel are the best guns to be using with a suppressor in Black Ops 3. As a lot of you guys already know, the suppressor has been severely nerfed compared to a lot of previous Call of Duty games, and it's usually not worth running. But there are a few guns where the suppressor is actually quite good, and those are the guns I'm going to be sharing with you today. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so the guns that I chose for this is partially based on just personal feel and personal preference. I've been playing around with a bunch of them, and these are the ones that felt the best to me with a suppressor on. But it is also based on the hard-coded stats, which I will link down below. But just for a quick overview, in case you haven't seen this before, this is the multiplier that the suppressor has on your range for each of the gun classes. So for SMGs, you multiply your range by 0.6, so it's a 40% reduction in your range, which isn't too terrible, but it's also not that great at the same time. For assault rifles, this is where a suppressor gets terrible. For assault rifles, it's a 0.25 multiplier, which means you're reducing your range by 75% when you use a suppressor. So for most assault rifles, it's going to be terrible to run a suppressor on it. Likewise for the LMGs, which is even worse, it's now 0.1%. You pretty much just never want to be using a suppressor on an LMG, and there's no exceptions to this rule as far as I can tell. As for snipers, you guys might have seen my video on this already. There is no negative impact to range, multipliers, or damage when you have a suppressor on a sniper rifle. So you can go and look at the numbers, but just by looking at the numbers, it can be a little bit confusing. So I actually went and hand tested the ranges with and without a suppressor for the guns that I prefer running a suppressor on, so you can actually see the different ranges for the guns. And the first gun that I don't mind using a suppressor on is the Vesper. And the simple reason for this is due to its insane rate of fire. As you can see here, it's got a pretty short 4-shot kill range unsuppressed. The 5-shot kill range unsuppressed isn't too bad, like you can easily keep your gunfights within that 5-shot kill range if you navigate the map properly. And then after that 5-shot kill range, it's 6 shots to kill from there on out into infinity. Now when you add the suppressor on it, you'll see it does reduce those ranges a little bit, but you can still usually navigate the map to keep it within a 5-shot kill range for the Vesper. But even if you don't, simply because the rate of fire is so fast on the Vesper, the difference between 5 shots and 6 shots is almost negligible, which is why I find the Vesper is not that bad to run a suppressor on. Now you're going to hear a lot of hit markers. A lot of people hear all of the different hit markers because it takes 6 hit markers to kill in a lot of situations, and they think it's terrible because of that. But if you just look at the simple numbers of the time to kill, it's still killing very quickly at that 6-shot kill range. So next up, we have the VMP, and initially I didn't really like the idea of a suppressor on the VMP because it does have a great 5-shot kill range, and you don't want to reduce that too much. But after using it with a suppressor and looking at the math and everything, and doing my hand testing for the ranges that you can see right here, it looks pretty good and it actually feels pretty good. You just have to keep in mind, you want to try to keep your gunfights just a little bit closer than you normally would with the VMP. You can see the 5-shot kill range is great unsuppressed. That is definitely outside the average SMG range there. But once you add the suppressor, it now only shortens it that little bit, and it's really not that bad. It's very easy to navigate the map to keep your gunfights within that 5-shot kill range. Yes, you're probably going to get a few less 4-shot kills, but 5 shots to kill with a VMP isn't so bad because it does have a good fire rate as well. So if you are using the suppressor on the VMP, just make sure you're keeping yourself within that 5-shot kill range and you'll be just fine. So next up, this one is just based on personal feel. If you look at the numbers, it doesn't really make sense. Even if you look at my hand testing, it might not make too much sense, and that is the Weevil. For some reason, I love running a suppressor on the Weevil. I think part of it is due to the fact that it's not very good at winning face-to-face gunfights, regardless of whether or not you have a suppressor on there. So when you add that suppressor, you have that in your head that you don't want to get into face-to-face gunfights. And I like to use a really flanky playstyle with the Weevil. You've got a great magazine capacity, and you're going to be still within a 4-shot kill range a lot of the time, regardless of whether or not you're running it suppressed or unsuppressed. So this is why I like using the Weevil with the suppressor. It might not make sense to you, but just try it out and see if it works for you. I was quite surprised that it works very effectively for me. The biggest thing to keep in mind with this is just try to avoid your face-to-face gunfights while using the Weevil. And this goes for whether you have a suppressor on it or not. The simple reason for this is it's a 4 to 5 shot kill range most of the time, and the rate of fire is quite slow on the Weevil. So anything else that has a 4 to 5 shot kill range is going to destroy the Weevil because the fire rate is so much better on the other guns. But the Weevil also did just recently get a little buffed, and it's a little bit more accurate now, so that's going to help you out even more, regardless of whether or not you have a suppressor. So I decided to save the best for last, and that is the KN-44. Now the simple reason for this is it will never be more than 4 shots to kill unless you're shooting through an object or something like that. So the KN-44, even across any map, suppressed or not suppressed, it's only going to take 4 shots to kill. It has a moderate rate of fire, which is also great, and the recoil is pretty easy to control, especially after the little buff it got. Also, one thing that's really important to point out here is the 3-shot kill range isn't reduced by 75% like the stats would suggest. This means that either the KN-44 was an exception to that, or there has been a recent buff in one of the most recent hotfixes that we haven't heard about yet, and I don't know if this applies to all assault rifles or just the KN-44, but it's definitely not a 75% reduction in your 3-shot kill range, which is really interesting to note. You'll still get 3-shot kills with this when you're right up close, but even if you get to your 4-shot kills, it's not that bad. So if you're wondering which gun you should use a suppressor on out of any gun in the game, aside from sniper rifles, you always want to be running a suppressor on the sniper rifles, but aside from sniper rifles, the best full auto gun to use a suppressor on is the KN-44 by far. So I'd like to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. I know part of this was subjective, like the Weevil for instance, it doesn't really make sense in the stats, but to me it just feels right. So I want to know what you guys think. What is your favorite weapon to run suppressed in this game? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.